Hi, welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. The program is Focal Point. You are listening to Free for All Friday. Let's open up the phones early. Let's go ahead and start the conversation. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. I'm going to begin by talking some more about the situation in Syria, giving you an update and perspective on that. We've also got a report on the job numbers that have come out today. Don't believe a single word you hear in the mainstream media. One of the reasons that you tune in to a program like Focal Point and like the AFR Talk Network is we are not going to blow smoke up your nose about what's going on in this economy. Now, the mainstream media, basically they are hacks and flacks for Barack Obama. They are his press arm. They're his press agents. They're just a propaganda mill, every one of them a propaganda mill for Barack Obama. So they're going to try to put varnish. They're going to try to put lipstick on the pig of where this Obama economy is at. And we're here to kind of see through all of that, peel back the varnish, and give you the straight truth. And the reality is this is an absolutely abysmal, dismal jobs report. The only reason the unemployment rate went down, and we'll get into this in a few minutes, the only reason the unemployment rate went down is because so many people dropped out of the labor force altogether. I'll have the specific numbers for you here in a few minutes, but the unemployment rate is based on the percentage of the people who have a job among those that want a job. Now, if people are not only not in the labor force, they don't have a job, but they've gotten so discouraged that they've quit looking for a job, then they no longer count. It's as if they do not exist for the purposes of computing the unemployment rate. That's the only reason the unemployment rate went down from 7 point whatever it was to 7.4% to 7.3%. If the same number of people were in the workforce that were in the workforce last month, just last month, the unemployment rate would have gone up to 7.5%. So they're going to try to paint this a rosy picture. Jobs being created. We're still in the recovery. Skies are bright. Skies are blue. The future looks better every day. Do not believe a single solitary word of it. And a lot of the jobs were the lowest paying jobs in the market. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is. I got it here in a stack, but a huge percentage of the jobs that were in fact created were low-wage jobs. They are in the lowest paying sectors of the American economy. So, yeah, there are jobs out there, but the question you got to ask, what kind of jobs are they? And they're low-quality jobs. They are low-paying jobs. The sectors that have the highest wages, both of those sectors, information and finance, both of those saw significant drops in unemployment. I mean, people losing their jobs. It's a bloodbath out there in the jobs that actually pay the highest wages. Now, 888-589-8840 if you want to join the conversation. And we'll get to the phones here in just a second. We'll get the conversation started virtually right away. But I want to talk about Islam or Syria just for a minute. And, the big story here is that Obama's desire to get backing from Congress to go to war, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's not going to happen. I got a feature story in here from the New York Times talking about the incredible blowback that legislators are getting from their own constituents. In fact, let's jump ahead in the queue, Emily, if we can. Let's grab clip number 2. Let's start with clip number 2. This is Representative Jeff Duncan. And then, Emily, let's see. I want to drop down. Then maybe we'll do 6 and 7. And then I've got one from yesterday that I held over that I want to grab. Had a similar, well, it was the Elijah Cummings clip, whichever one that is. That's clip 17. So let's start with clip number 2. Then I want to do 6 and 7. And then I want to drop down to clip 17, Elijah Cummings. Now, here's Jeff Duncan. Jeff Duncan is talking to Secretary of State John Kerry. John Kerry, to me, ladies and gentlemen, I am trying to be as kind as I can to John Kerry. But this guy, when he speaks, he's incomprehensible. A lot of what he says doesn't even make sense. You could sit there and try to parse it for a week You could get a grammarian on that to try to help you understand what he's saying and still not be able to make heads nor tails of even what the meaning of what he has to say is. Now, here's Representative Jeff Duncan. He has John Kerry. This is a House committee hearing yesterday. And Jeff Duncan from South Carolina, he's got a picture of Tyrone Woods, and he holds it up. He shows it to John Kerry. Tyrone Woods is one of the 2 former Navy SEALs that died in that attack in Benghazi at the hands of militants, which the Obama administration, the State Department knew from day one was it was a terrorist attack. It was a jihadist attack. They knew about it. They were told about it immediately. They knew within minutes. And yet you still had Hillary Clinton out there lying to the American people. You had Ambassador Susan Wright lying to the American people, Susan Rice, 5 times every Sunday morning talk show. She went out and told absolute bald-faced lies, blaming it on some guy that until just a couple of weeks ago went to prison for it. And his video had nothing to do with it. And you had Barack Obama, the president of the United States, going to the UN telling bald-faced lies in the name of the presidency, the name of the United States, to the entire world. I mean, that is shameful and inexcusable and immoral. Now, here is Jeff Duncan, clip number 2, talking to John Kerry yesterday, and here's what he had to say.
I have spoken to hundreds of constituents. This represents about 300 emails that my office has gotten, and not a one member in my district in South Carolina, or the emails of people that have contacted my office say, go to Syria and fight this regime. To a letter, they say, no, do not go into Syria. Don't get involved in their civil war. I spoke to 8th graders, about 150 8th graders yesterday. They get it. They get it that we shouldn't be drug into someone else's civil war where there are no good guys. There are no good guys to get behind here, and I can only envision an escalation of this current conflict. The same administration that was seemingly so quick to involve the U.S. in Syria now was reluctant to use the same resources at its disposal to attempt to rescue the 4 brave Americans that fought for their lives in Benghazi. Mr. Kerry, you have never been one that has advocated for anything other than caution when involving U.S. forces in past conflicts. The same is true for the President and the Vice President. Is the power of the executive branch so intoxicating that you would abandon past caution in favor of pulling the trigger on a military response so quickly? The reason that I say Benghazi is germane to our discussions on Syria is this. Secretary Kerry, have there been any efforts on the part of the United States, directly or indirectly, to provide weapons to the Syrian rebels, and that would also include facilitating the transfer of weapons from Libyan rebels to the Syrian rebels?
So that's Jeff Duncan. I mean, just getting all over John Kerry for this here. John Kerry's he's the guy that threw his medals over the fence on the White House grounds. He's the guy that went before Congress in this exact same room where the Senate hearing was held the day before on Wednesday. Went into that room and talked about his fellow soldiers were cutting the ears off of people and hooking their genitals up to batteries and giving them electric shocks. And involved in rape and pillage and random looting and violence. That's the same John Kerry, same room. He's always been anti-war. He said, of course, he was against the war in Iraq before he was for it. And Jeff Duncan just getting why now all of a sudden the rush? You've never been about going to war. Why all of a sudden the rush to go into combat? Now, John McCain ran into an earful last night. Let's grab clip number 6. John McCain at a town hall meeting in Arizona. And he was booed at this town hall meeting. This was raucous. This was, he ran into a buzzsaw. He took flack from his own constituents because John McCain, remember, has been one of the biggest guys. We got to go in there. We got to take Assad out. I mean, he initially said, I'm going to vote against this authorization for the use of force because it's not strong enough. I want boots on the ground. I want us to go in there and I want to get rid of Assad. We got to be tough. We got to be strong. We got to go in there. And minimum we got to do is we got to strike. And so he voted for these bombing runs into Syria. So here's a woman at his town hall meeting. She is from Syria. She's a Christian. They're getting obliterated. The Free Syrian Army that McCain says are the good guys, they went into a Christian village where the Aramaic language that Jesus spoke is still spoken. They trashed a Roman Catholic church. They knocked over a statue of Mary. And this woman says, I lost a relative to these Syrian rebels. Here's clip 1, the Syrian woman speaking to John McCain last night.
Personally speaking, I have a cousin who is 18 years old, just was killed 10 days ago by the so-called rebels and Al-Qaeda, and they're not Syrian. They're coming to Syria from all over the world to fight this. We cannot afford to do that. We cannot afford to turn Syria into another Iraq or Afghanistan. I beg you. My family is there. There's so many good Syrians. The majority of the Syrian people want to save their country. And you need to also listen to the majority of the American people who do not want you to go there. This is not an issue that we could take so lightly, Senator McCain. Enough is enough. We do not want another engagement in the Middle East. We don't want Al-Qaeda to take over. We don't, whether you like Bashar al-Assad or not, I am not a fan either. But at least he has a secular government going on over there.
So there's a Syrian Christian woman. She lost a member of her family, a cousin to these rebels. Remember that John McCain says are moderate. I know these people. I've talked to them. I've looked them in the eye. They're moderate. Trust me on this. I know what I'm talking about. I'm just a big, giant pufferfish. I just kind of blow up and inflate myself every time I get animated about this stuff. And I know what I'm talking about. Trust me. And she says, hey, these Syrian rebels you say are the moderates took the life of my cousin. Here is the second clip. Clip number 7. Again, Syrian woman, same woman, Christian woman, still talking to John McCain at his town hall meeting last night.
It is secular, Senator McCain. We are a minority over there. We are the minority Christians who are, unfortunately, by you and so many in the Senate, are just considering us as collateral damages. And I refuse to believe that. I refuse that because I could trace my family's name to the Bible. We were there from the beginning of humanity, we were there. And we refuse to be forced to leave and flee and be considered a collateral damage.
So pretty strong words. And John McCain ran into a lot of that from his own constituents at this town hall meeting. It was a blistering affair for him. One man said, and again, this was applauded, one man said, we didn't send you to make war for us. We sent you to stop the war. Everybody applauded. Another man holds up a bag of marshmallows. And he said Congress is going soft on the duties to represent the voters. This is what I think of Congress, he told McCain. They're a bunch of marshmallows. That's what they are. That's what they become. Why are you not listening to the people and staying out of Syria? It's not our fight. So the American people, not with Obama, not with McCain on this. Back in 2.
Leanne Williamson